check in so you can get a piece of paper that have your district. Please, thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. If you haven't registered at the desk up front, please register. We need you to register, please. I've only got 37 people registered. There's way more than 37 here, so please.
Assalamu alaikum. May I ask all the candidates to come have a seat? And for everyone to please have a seat, we're going to start our program. Please, everyone, if you would have a seat, let's start our program. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon you all. Thank you very much for coming and welcome. My name is Ruba Abu Khadir. I am the chair of the Advocacy Committee here at Dar al-Taqwa. And it brings so much joy and pride to my heart to see this room getting fuller and fuller. That means that our Muslim community is here to be informed, to have informed decision. We want to be part of the decision-making process. We want to be civically and politically engaged. Most importantly, we want to be part of the change. So that's awesome. Thank you for coming. I want to start by a quote that was shared this morning when I sent the reminder for this forum to all the Muslim groups. One sister that I love so much, Sister Esma, shared this message to encourage people to come. And I found it very beautiful, so I had to share it with you all. Sister Esma said, "We make dua. We have absolute tawakkul that He is the best providers, protectors, and sustainers. We believe that all outcomes are only from His decree and mercy. And, with like 3 N's and 3 D's, we do our part. We may not be able to physically take a meal to a hungry child in Gaza, or shield a pregnant or nursing mother in Sudan, or save a young girl from abuse in Rohingya, or uplift a young man in Kashmir, or anywhere in the world where Muslims are suffering. But we can absolutely put pressure on our local politicians here. And I'm not going to say no pressure, because we're going to put pressure. It starts locally to make change globally." I just thought it was so beautiful. I had to share it with you guys. So I would like to warmly welcome candidates that accepted our invitation today. Thank you very much for coming. We really appreciate you being here today. I would also like to warmly welcome our Muslim community partners and fellow advocates. We're very grateful that you guys are joining us, are supporting us, are working with us. That's amazing. And again, if you know me, you know that when I hear a beautiful quote, it just sticks with me. And one of Dar al-Taqwa previous president always say, always say that we are all one ummah, and I think tonight is just a beautiful reflection of that unity. So thank you very much for coming, for the organizations. I thought they're going to sit over here. Anyways. Okay, so we have a full and exciting program for you planned today, but first we have to start with our Imam Sheikh Amir, to come and bless this event before we start. Have a couple of words for all of us.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير المرسلين محمد النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. I begin, of course, in the praise of God, God alone, our Creator, our Sustainer, the one who has blessed each and every one of us with life. He showers His blessings upon us day in and day out. He is the King of all kings. He is the Master of the Day of Judgment. We begin in His praise and His praise alone. And then we send the best of prayers, of supplications and blessings on all of the prophets of the past, dating back from the time of Adam to the time of Abraham, Moses, Jesus, and all of the other prophets and servants of God to the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon each and every one of them. This event is obviously, mashallah, an amazing event, and I expect a tremendous amount of positive influence coming from both our community as well as our, elected representatives. I just want to take a minute to share with you all one of the things we hold so dear is, some of the statements of our great prophets of the past. So one of the statements of one of our prophets of the past, the Prophet Muhammad specifically, peace and blessings be upon him, he said that, when it comes to the issue of justice and fairness and equity, he said that if my own daughter was to commit a crime, if she was to do something that was illegal, if she was to do something that was inappropriate, he said, I personally would hold her responsible for that. I personally would hold her responsible for that. And this is a really profound statement, my brothers, sisters, friends, and colleagues, because the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, was reminding us of the importance of justice. I was just speaking to one of the doctors here who's on the panel. He was reminding us that justice is not selective, right? It's not for some people and not for others. And when we have a diverse society and community like this, oftentimes, right, diversity can be one of the strengths and the pillars of that society. But when justice becomes selective, it's no longer justice. It's actually bias, right? It's prejudiced. It's something that will literally erode the foundation of that community and that society. So I ask that God Almighty, He give each and every one of us, right, the understanding and the strength to persevere, right, for justice, for equity, for fairness, and for equality for all of the community members of Howard County, the United States of America, and even abroad. We ask God Almighty to accept. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ameen. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Amir. Okay, so tonight marks our second candidate forum here at Dar al-Taqwa. This time, though, we expanded our reach to welcome candidates from different races in Howard County. So we have candidates from the state delegate, from Howard County Council, from Howard County executives, and I will introduce them one by one shortly. But before that, I have just quick logistics. We have food in the back of the room. Please help yourselves. Restrooms are outside of this room on your right. Most importantly, when you checked in, and please, if you haven't checked in, please check in, we give you a piece of paper that indicates your district. You need to know your district. Why? Because it's important to listen to all of them, but it's more important to focus on the candidates that actually are running for your district. Number two, because we're gonna break out into 2 rooms later in the program, and you wanna know which room you're gonna be attending based on your district. So it's very important. We have some time if you're still confused, if you lost your paper. We have ushers wearing the One Ummah shirt, brought by Brother Yahya, that will guide you through the process, okay? Okay, so let's introduce our candidates. We're gonna start from my right. Candidates that are running for Howard County Executive, we have Council Member Dib Young, Mr. Bob Cockey, and Council Member Liz Walsh. Candidates that are running for District 9B State Delegate, we have Mr. Abdul Mateen, and Delegate Courtney Watson. Now, for Howard County Council, we have 5 districts, and that's where I want you to focus, which district you're in. For District number 1, or District 1, we have Dr. Kevin Chen and Mr. James David Handley. For District, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't have you on the sheet. We have Miss Jean Shu. Sorry, because you didn't confirm the, welcome, sorry about that. And we also have Mr. Arenze Malcolm Efikuche. I hope I said that correctly. From District 2, I'm sorry. District 3, we have Mr. Amir Nawawala and Council Member Christiana Regby. Running for District 4, we have Dr. Linfeng Chen and Ms. Shamika Preston. And finally, for District 5, we have Ms. Felita Phillips and Mr. Ryan O'Connor, who is not here. I mean, he's supposed to come, maybe he's just running late. Okay, so the goal of this event is for our community to get to know you, to get to know our candidate, but also it's for our candidates to know our community as well. And we have received several questions from candidates asking about the Muslim community, concerns, they were asking for clarification. So we thought, let's bring our Muslim organizations, Muslim partners that advocate and serve the community to talk about themselves. So they're gonna have 2 to 3 minutes max to introduce their organizations. So I would like to invite our own Dr. Samer Al-Kamari from DAT Taqwa.
Assalamu alaikum. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome to all our candidates. Thank you so much for coming today. My name is Samer Al-Kamari. I'm the Vice President of the Board of Directors at DAT Taqwa. I am going to just focus on our community so that you have a better understanding. I know that many of you have these questions. So we, as you know, are one of the largest mosques in Maryland, and we are the largest mosque in Howard County. There's only 2 other mosques, the Muslim Family Center and Mariam Center, we have many representatives here today. And we have our DAT Taqwa community. In Howard County, we have about 10,000 Muslims that are documented. There's more than that, I know. And we are always talking to each other. Muslims have the gift of gab. We like to socialize, and we like to be intrusive and find out more about each other. And so politics are usually the biggest topic of conversation. So even though we're not a large number compared to the state of Maryland, we have an outsized influence. Because we talk so much, we affect the opinions of so many other groups of people, not just Muslims. And we communicate continuously with other Muslim groups in Maryland. And our neighbors in Baltimore County, under the Islamic Society of Baltimore, they have a community of 50,000. Many of them come to pray here, we go pray there. We know each other, and we talk to each other. And when we discuss issues, we discuss politics as well. So we are, even though as a group, we may represent about 3% of the state of Maryland, we have a very big influence because of the partisan politics. That 3% comes in the middle, and we can move the elections one way or the other. So this is our impact in general in the way of politics. But here's the other thing. In the last decade, Muslims have started taking a real interest in politics and civic society. And they have started training themselves, understanding politics, understanding voting. Many of them started registering themselves. And so we have a lot of people who are knowledgeable, including people who have decided to major in political sciences. We have one of them over here. And so we have a lot of influence and understanding of politics now, way more than we did less than a decade ago. And these forums that you have here are forms of engagement that you can see. And you'll see, I guarantee you, if you came 10 years ago, this room would have been like 1/10 the number of attendees. Now we have a full room. Alhamdulillah, mashallah, this is really very impressive. And I will tell you something, even though you're all here for local politics, you will be asked questions about international politics. And you may say, this has nothing to do with me. It does, because it sways the opinion of people and how they feel. As an immigrant group, we're a new group, and so many of us are still first generation, including myself. Many of our families are still back home being affected by politics that are decisions that are made right here in the United States. But even more important than that, we don't think this is the end for you. This is the beginning. You are going for these seats, and we know many of you are going to move on to the state, many of you are going to move on to Washington, many of you are going to be in the senators, and some of you may even end up being candidates for president. So the decisions you make today, the understanding of our community, the way we ask you the questions, the way you understand what we want and what we need, could ultimately have a huge impact in the future when you get to those positions. So don't be surprised when we ask you questions about overseas issues that have nothing to do locally, but they will be important for us because we want to create a bond with you now that will have an impact in the future. This is not just a one-time deal, this is a long-term thing. We're very social, we're very loving, and once we like somebody, we stick with them. So I hope this is not your first time to a mosque, but if it is, I hope it's not the last time. Our whole house of God is always open. You can come anytime, not even an appointment. You can just walk in, you can listen to our sermons, listen to our lectures. We always welcome anyone as a guest in our home here. So thank you so much for coming, and I'd be happy to talk with any of you individually later on if there's any questions left for me. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair, Brother Samer. Okay, next we have our partner organization, Muslim Family Center, represented by Brother Ihab Hassan.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبع اليوم الدين أما بعد السلام عليكم. Alhamdulillah, such a blessing to be here. I know you didn't come here to listen to me speak. But, alhamdulillah, Salim was here. We'll talk after, inshallah. But it was very important for me to be here and just to stand here before you today, just to make it very clear of our alliance, of our partnership, of our unity, of the Muslims here in Howard County. I think it's a blessing to be here. I'd like to thank DAT Taqwa for having us and for hosting this event. As you will hear, Muslims are very concerned with, social justice issues, equality issues. These are things that are very important to us. We strive in, different things. I've been a part of the Muslim community here in Howard County since I moved here as a child back in the 80s, like 20-some years ago. Okay, just kidding. So I've been here for a very long time. I've gotten to witness the growth of the Muslim community here firsthand. I've studied it very closely. And you'll notice a couple things. I've learned many, many things, but a couple things you'll notice is that number one, we are a beautifully diverse community. the things that are important to people at large are important to our community. That's number one. You'll find that we care about different things. Different issues are very important to many different Muslims. But another thing that you'll notice is that the Muslim community is extremely, extremely principled. Extremely principled. We care about social justice, equality. We care about all of that for our community and for outside of our community, in Howard County and outside of Howard County. The Messenger of Allah, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said, none of you truly believes until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. So it's not just about us and making ourselves better and making our own personal lives better, but it's about everyone at large. And then in another narration, he said, none of you truly believes until you love for people what you love for yourself. So it's not even about just the Muslim community. We don't, our only concern is not just ourselves and being in a bubble and serving our community only. It is about serving humanity at large. And I ask that Allah blesses our leadership, that He allows us to strive and make an embetterment and make an impact for Howard County and beyond. Thank you again for having us here today, and we're blessed to be here as partners with you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you very much, Brother Ihab. Okay, up next, the Council on American Islamic Relation, and it is represented by Brother Damani Ingram.
Assalamu alaikum. Good to see everybody. So my name is Damani Ingram. I serve in many different capacities here in the county. Also a member of DAT for many years, raised in Howard County from elementary through high school. But now in this capacity, I am representing the Council on American Islamic Relations as a part of the Maryland Commission, and we are the Board of Advisors. And there were a few words that we wanted to say to the candidates that I'm going to speak to you right now. As you know, CARE Maryland is the largest civil rights organization in the state of Maryland. We represent thousands of Muslims across the state. And we're not just here as constituents, as in this community. We also are people here that demand leadership that is rooted in justice and equality and accountability. Muslim voters are not a fringe bloc. We're not a fringe. We're teachers, doctors, lawyers, small business people, public servants, and young people actively shaping Maryland's future. We're paying close attention, not to just what the candidates say, but what they prioritize, what they're willing to stand for, and when it matters the most. We're living through a climate, especially with the wars that are going on in the Southeast, in West Asia, where there's a rise of Islamophobia and biased incidents, locally and nationally. This community needs leaders who are elected who will protect free speech, combat hate crimes and discrimination, and champion human rights and ethical governance, and defend religious freedom in our schools, our workplaces, and public spaces, not as a courtesy, but as a commitment. And our communities want safety. We also want fairness, transparency, accountability. We want to know, do you support the reforms that guarantee due process, prevent profiling, and build genuine trust for marginalized communities? Because Muslim, Black, immigrant, and low-income families too often face overlapping, compounding harms. Leadership means seeing that clearly and acting on it. Our children deserve safe, seen, and supported environments in our Maryland public schools. We're asking, will you champion inclusive curricula and strong policies that protect students from being bullied based upon religion and identity? Our community is deeply personally impacted by the United States foreign policy, particularly what's happening and is unfolding in Gaza, the rest of occupied Palestine and Lebanon, And for many Maryland families, these are not distinct abstractions. They are matters of grief, of conscience, and of justice. We want leaders who support humane foreign policy, who will call for an enforced ceasefire and an end to the destruction in Palestine and Lebanon and other places that are experiencing oppression, protection of civilian life, and accountability under international law. Voter access, language access, and meaningful community engagement are not administrative details. They are democratic necessities. And we are asking each of you how you will ensure the Muslim and immigrant communities have a genuine seat at the table in Maryland's decision-making and policy-making. We are not looking for perfect candidates. We're looking for, as Ehab says, principled ones. This community is organized, we are informed, and we are ready to engage in this election with full intention. Justice cannot be selective. Human rights are not negotiable. They are universal. And we will remember who stood with us, not just in words, but in action. And with that action, CARE does have a voter registration drive in the back, so those who are not registered to vote, once again, candidates, thank you for being here. We look forward to hearing from you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you. Is Justice for All here? Oh, you are. I didn't see you coming. Okay, next is Justice for All, and it's represented by our dear sister, Hina Zubairi.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Thank you. It's amazing to see this room so full. Alhamdulillah. We've come a long way, Howard County. Okay, my name is Hannah Zubairi, and I'm the Director of Advocacy for Justice for All and a co-founder of Iman, an umbrella organization of over 39, I believe now, Muslim organizations in Maryland. So it's an honor to stand in front of you and represent Justice for All, a human rights organization. We work to prevent genocide, rooted in a belief that human dignity is not negotiable and that justice must be pursued at every level of society. We often think of global crises, conflicts, humanitarian disasters, and human rights violations as distant, as something that's shaped by our national government or international bodies. But a lot of that has come home, as many of you have seen on the streets. And the truth is, local politics is where the foundation is laid. Decisions made in county councils, in school boards, and our state legislatures ripple outwards. They shape public policy, they influence national policy, they influence our media, and ultimately contribute to how our country engages with the rest of the world. An example I always give is about South Africa. How many of you have heard about the anti-apartheid movement? I'm sure some of you were active during that time too. Local activism in places like Berkeley and New York City forced our government and companies tied to apartheid in South Africa to divest. That growing local pressure helped which led to the Comprehensive Anti-Apartheid Act of 1986, shifting US foreign policy despite a presidential veto. It shows how community-driven local decisions can influence national laws and contribute to global change. Here in Howard County, the values we say we uphold, equity, inclusion, accountability, are not isolated. I wanted to also take a moment to share a beautiful moment in a powerful chapter of American Muslim history that speaks directly to the importance of advocacy. There was not a long time ago, not very long time ago, maybe 20, 30 years ago, that rape or sexual violence was not a war crime. It was not recognized as a war crime locally, nationally, or internationally. And it was the work of human rights organizations, human rights advocates, especially the organization that I lead. We worked with Justice for All worked with National Organization of Women, and we passed, after the Bosnian genocide, we passed this law that in Congress that recognized it as a war crime, and worked with then Muhammad Ali, the Muslim boxer, took it to the United Nations and got it passed in the United Nations. So this is a part of American Muslim history that a lot of people don't know, and I wanted to share that today with you. So we're looking to you, all of you candidates. We urge you to listen closely to not only our needs, but also our values. What do we value? We want to know what our tax dollars are doing. We want to know where our tax dollars are going. Is it going to build community here or to destroy communities overseas? So I'm hoping all of you are on the side of building community here. Thank you.
Jazakallah khair. Okay, next we have Sister Noreen Zaidi to represent Howard County Muslim Council.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name's Noreen Zaidi. I'm here representing the Howard County Muslim Council. I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank the Al-Taqwa for holding this forum. I just want to let you know a little bit about the Howard County Muslim Council. It was created post 9/11 to combat many of the cases of Islamophobia. And I want you all to take, maybe if you were well enough to remember, how it affected everyone living at that time, and how much we've learned or how much we still have to grow from that time. One of the things that Howard County Muslim Council is involved in is working with the Board of Education in religious accommodations and Islamophobia. We work closely with them. We work with them on the calendar committee, making sure that Muslim children, our families, are seen in the schools. I know many of us have grown up in this area. I myself grew up not too far. I remember being the only brown person in the classroom, and looking different, being asked, oh, you don't sound the way you look. So, and I think being a Muslim, it is our duty to be a servant of Allah and also give back to the community. With that, we also partner with the Maryland Food Bank over the past 4 years, having a food drive where we give out free produce, Elk Ridge Library, Pantry on the Go. Anyone in need, we don't ask any questions. It's our duty to give back to our community. And the next one we have is May 16th. So if you can come and volunteer, we'd love to have you as volunteers. You can follow us on social media. We need volunteers. If you know anyone that can benefit, please come and help out. It's our duty to help out anyone. And that's, I think, one thing I'd like to speak to the panelists here and echo the people that spoke before me, is that we're value-based. We do not look at anyone depending on what you look like. You can look in this room, you'll see a vast number of people. And the commonality is we're, first of all, human beings, and we all should be treated as human beings. I will also say that we also are holding a candidate forum on May 17th, and we'd all invite you, please check our social media, register. May 17th, 5 to 7 at Owen Brown Interfaith. If there's one thing that you remember from this forum, is that we're here, we're not going anywhere. And you can't make decisions about us without us. So we hope that you would take that into consideration and thinking about us and what we believe in and how we want to work with you all in this community. Thank you very much.
Next we have Hikmah, Howard County Muslim Alliance, with Sister Muzna Ansari.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone, and thank you so much to Sister Ruba and all of the folks who made this incredible event come together. So thank you, Dar al-Taqwa, for having us and inviting us. I wanted to share a little bit about the Howard County Muslim Alliance. I'll share three things. One, a little bit about our founding, a little bit about some of our recent work, and finally I'll close with where we're going from here. So after the events of October 7th and what happened in Gaza, many of the community leaders that are in this room came together and realized that we really need a new organization in Howard County to represent the interests of our community, to engage with elected officials, to advocate for our needs. And that was really the founding of HICMA, the Howard County Muslim Alliance. So we are probably the youngest. I think we're the new kids on the block here. We officially launched in the fall, and since we've launched, we've partnered with Dar al-Taqwa, with MFC, with Tarbiyah Academy, with Aya Montessori, with other local groups on many different projects, but I'll name a few. We've also partnered with Columbia Community Cares to raise money for those in need in terms of food necessities. Some of our recent work includes immigration bills that were before the Howard County Council, and we know that immigration is an important issue for our community, and it's an important issue for those members of Howard County. So what some of the folks up here said earlier, we don't only care about issues that affect our community directly, but also those issues that affect all disenfranchised people. And so we were heavily involved in immigration bills to push back against ICE in Howard County. We're also heavily involved at the State House in Annapolis around Palestine Advocacy Week, testifying, organizing community members to testify and to really engage in that. And then where we go from here right now as an organization, we're really focused on the elections. We are, unlike some of the other groups here, we are able to do endorsements, and so we are engaging in endorsements, in getting out the vote. And I just do want to name as a fact that because Howard County is such a heavily Democratic county, that our primaries will really determine generally who becomes in office in the fall. So it's really not a November timeline, it's a June timeline that we should all keep in mind. And so we're really excited to be here and excited to continue to engage with the community. Jazakallah.
Okay. Last organization we have here, AMP, American Muslims for Palestine, and we have Sister Khadija Abdullah representing AMP. One of our empowering, inspiring youth.
Oh my gosh, thanks guys. Okay, assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Khadija. I'm here today on behalf of American Muslims for Palestine, specifically the DMV chapter. AMP is a Muslim-led nonprofit national organization. We were founded in 2006, and we seek to promote Muslim advocacy and education for the People's Movement for Palestinian Liberation, and we have grassroots chapters all over the country. I want to thank the organizers of this event and you all for coming, especially during this increasingly difficult period for our brothers and sisters in Gaza, Sudan, Iran, and Lebanon. As the newest chapter of AMP, our regional proximity to the DMV comes with a unique responsibility in facilitating and strengthening the Muslim front of our movement. Electing leaders who represent us, prioritize our people's lives and dignity, and reduce our complicity in endless wars and genocide is a necessary step. Our community has been hurt over and over again by our bipartisan elected leaders who engage in the Palestine exception, the notion that Palestinian lives are expendable and that their liberation is too complicated. This exception translates over into the Muslim community, and we've witnessed this in Iraq, Afghanistan, and we continue to witness this today in Sudan, Yemen, Kashmir, and Egypt, to name a few. As Muslims and as people of conscience, we refuse to accept broken promises any longer. I urge our candidates today to put the people's voices and interests first. As AMP-DMV, we will ensure our voice is heard, especially in the wake of this current administration and the accelerated genocide in Gaza, until liberation and return. We're honored to be here today with you all. Thank you.
Okay, we've done our part. We introduced our organizations, and I hope that it answered some of your questions or it's just sparked some curiosity. They're here from 5 to 5:30 where we're gonna mingle and have just an informal opportunity to talk to each other. So please, if you have any question for them, you know how they look like, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of them. It's your turn now, and we are going to start with a lightning round. Lean and Leanne handed every one of you a sign that has a yes or no. We want to see a clear yes or a clear no. We don't want to see the side of your signs, okay? So I want to invite Muhammad Abu Khudair. He is going to moderate this lightning round. Good luck. Just one last thing, please look at your district, candidates from your district, pay attention to them, okay?
Assalamu alaikum everyone, and to our candidates as well. Thank you again so much for coming. But now as we head into the lightning round, I just want to preface it with a few reminders. As was said before, some of the questions we ask might pertain to policy issues that fall outside the purview of the positions for which you guys are running, but they still matter to us nonetheless because they are important to us in terms of our values as Muslims, but also as you all advance in your political careers and run for higher offices. Also, again, these are just yes or no questions. Please indicate your answers only by holding up the corresponding side of your sign. Do not hold up the side of the sign as we want a clear yes or no. And at the end, we'll give an opportunity to expand on a couple of the questions that we ask. Now for the first question, and maybe the most important, community gatherings and potlucks are an important way for how we socialize as Muslims and in our culture. So, the first question, are you all good at cooking? Okay, very interesting. Now, for the second question, a little more on business. Do you support the $144 million initiative to build the Lakefront Library in downtown Columbia? Yes, thank you. For the next question, do you believe Islamophobia is a prevalent issue in Howard County schools? Thank you. Next, would you support legislation to further prohibit religious discrimination in Howard County? Thank you. Would you support legislation criminalizing or preventing the malicious distribution of students' personal or identifying information, otherwise known as doxing? Yes. Would you support legislation criminalizing or preventing the distribution with malicious intent of students' personal information, or doxing? Yes. Thank you. Now, have you visited a Muslim place of worship before today? Interesting. Yes. Now, would you characterize the events in Gaza or Gaza over the last 2.5 years as a genocide? Just since some of the candidates are raising the question, would you characterize the events in Gaza over the past 2 years as a genocide? For those who, okay, perfect. Yes. Now, do you support the current position calling upon Howard County to divest from unethical corporations, including war profiteers, weapons manufacturers, fossil fuel profiteers, etc.? Do you support the petition circulating in Howard County calling upon the county to divest from unethical corporations, including weapons manufacturers, fossil fuel profiteers, etc.? Okay. Now, have you all personally signed the petition that I just mentioned? Interesting. Now, do you support the further construction of affordable housing in Howard County? Yeah, do you support the further construction of affordable housing in Howard County? Great. Yes. Now, if you were to run for higher offices later in your careers, would you pledge to not accept any money or endorsements from unethical super PACs or corporations like APAC? Yes. If you run for higher positions of office forward in your career, would you commit to not receiving endorsements or money from super PACs and corporations like APAC? Okay, good to know. Yeah. Now, would you oppose the construction of ICE detention facilities in Howard County and across Maryland? Would you oppose the construction of AI data centers in Howard County and across Maryland? Yeah, would you would you oppose the construction of AI data centers in? Yes or no questions, yes or no questions. Yes. Okay. Yes. Would you oppose further collaboration and information sharing between local law enforcement and federal immigration law enforcement beyond what is federally required? Okay. Yes. Would you oppose collaboration and information sharing between local law enforcement and federal immigration law enforcement beyond what is federally required? Yes. Sorry. Yes. Would you oppose information sharing and collaboration between our law enforcement and ICE? Yes. Do you oppose it? Yeah, ICE or federal immigration law enforcement. Okay. Yeah, apologies. Okay. Would you oppose the anti-BDS executive order placed by former Governor Larry Hogan and upheld by current Governor Wes Moore and other anti-boycott laws? Do you oppose anti-boycott legislation like the anti-BDS executive order placed by Governor Larry Hogan? Do you support BDS? Oh, sorry. Do you support boycotting, divesting, and sanctioning Israel? The right for us to boycott, divest, and sanction Israel. Do you support that? Yes. Okay. Yeah. For some context, former Governor Larry Hogan passed an executive order in Maryland that criminalizes people who receive government contracts from boycotting the state of Israel, even though it is committing genocide and apartheid against Palestinians. Do you oppose anti-boycott legislation such as that executive order? Are you against that executive order? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Please raise your signs all the way. Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Now, do you consider anti-Zionism to be a form of anti-Semitism? Do you consider anti-Zionism to be a form of anti-Semitism? Yes. Yes, so anti-Zionism is opposition to the current ethno-supremacist state of Israel's existence and occupation of Palestinian lands, and anti-Semitism is discrimination against the Jewish people or hatred against the Jewish people. So do you think that opposing Israel's occupation of Palestinians is a form of anti-Semitism? Okay. Thank you. Do you believe that opposing Israel's occupation of Palestinian land is a form of anti-Semitism? Do you believe that opposing Israel's occupation of Palestine is anti-Semitic?
Hold it high, please. Hold it high. Is this a new question or is this the same question?
The same question.
Please, yes, thank you very much.
Okay. Now, given the prevalence of efforts to silence dissent against the U.S.'s foreign policy at the county level by claiming that these issues don't affect Howard County, do you believe it is important for local and state governments to take stances on foreign policy issues?
You all understand the question? Good? No, she doesn't.
Do you think it is important for local and state governments to take stances on foreign policy issues?
Higher. Yes, because you can see her in the back. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yes. Those are all of the simple yes or no questions we had prepared, but I would now like to open the floor to elaborate a little bit on two of the questions in specific. I previously asked if you would support stronger legislation prohibiting religious discrimination in Howard County. So I would like to open it. Any of you can volunteer to answer. Could you describe in a sentence or two what policies or laws you have in mind that you would support to actually do that? So what would you actually do? Yes.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is James Hanley. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. I think what we should recognize is the larger national context here, which is that the Trump administration has no interest in enforcing these sort of laws at the federal level. They're gutting the EEOC, which many of you may know is the Employment Opportunity Commission that helps with anti-discrimination efforts during employment. And what the state and frankly the county should do is step up to fill that gap. So the local Office of Human Rights for Howard County needs more funding. It needs more help to ensure that the things that are slipping through the cracks, you did say two sentences, that's way more, I'm sorry, that these issues that are slipping through the cracks do not here in Howard County.
Yeah, thank you for that answer. Again, you can volunteer. You're not required to answer the question. We're just going to go on a volunteer basis. But again, the question is, what actual policies or initiatives would you support to prevent religious discrimination against Muslims in Howard County?
And I very appreciate that the leaders said that the foreign policy really impact our people in local level. I, as an immigrant myself, have experienced that, especially during the pandemic. Trump called us virus, and anti-Asian crimes and speeches spiked at the time, and a lot of people in our community fears of the Asian hate crimes and attacks. And also during the Trump first administration, he initiated the China Initiative, which target the Chinese scientists to be spies. Those really impact us locally, and we need to protect our immigrant communities. And like many of you, I'm an immigrant, and this is my personal experience. Thank you.
Evening, everybody. Arinze Fakuche, District 2. That's Oakland Mills, Long Reach, a little bit of Ellicott City, and Elkridge, if you're not familiar with the district lines. If you didn't know, Howard County has several commissions. They have a commission for civil rights, one for LGBTQ issues, one for AAPI, so on and so forth. Muslims do not have one. I'd be supportive of creating one, and make sure that it is sort of time limited and focused, maybe a year, 2 years, have a strategic report, have stakeholders from the community bring forth some recommendations, the council consider it, and have the county executive consider it and make some change. I think that's the best way that we could move the ball forward on this issue. Thanks.
And again, please, if everyone could just limit it to a sentence or two, very brief answers.
Is it long enough? Okay. So one thing I'm very passionate about is I think we need to take the gas out of anti-Semitism claims, and one way to do that is to outlaw or pass a resolution in our county against the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which conflates Yeah. Which conflates the criticism of Israel with anti-Semitism. So we need to. I think that's passed at the national level, and we need to do away with that.
I think one of my platform is for strengthening our diverse community, because as an immigrant myself, and also sometimes I experience hate sometimes during my life living in New York City. And this is, I co-own the same task you have. And as me, some people know, for the Eid, that's I work on the Canada community, work with Shahan and with Praveen, try to put together the Lunar New Year and the Wali and the Eid. That's formalized 10 years ago. Not an easy task, but the same thing, we definitely need to create some commission to make sure the Muslim community voice always can be heard at the county level. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Felita Phillips. I'm running for County Council in District 5, and I am an immigrant as well. And discrimination is something that's just, I would love to say it's not anything we have to think about or be concerned with, but it's been something I've been concerned and thought about my whole entire life. And it's only through, we can change policies, do things like that, but you know, just like a speed limit, somebody's gonna break it. And we need to really do more outreach so that people see people as people, because that's what they are. We're all people. We all want to have a nice place to live and a safe place to live. So we need to do more maybe community things to get people to intermingle or commingle so you can see who we are, what we stand for, and that we're just like you. We are. We're all the same.
Hello, my name is Shamika Preston. I'm running for County Council for District 4. I would like to learn more about what's working and what's not working, and I think the best way to do that is to partner with the community to understand the impact of what is being ignored from a discrimination perspective. I think that is the best way to make sure that we have the right legislation in place to protect you against religious discrimination. So I would like to partner and understand before I implement anything, but definitely implement something that is strong and worthwhile to the community. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kevin Chin. I'm running for County Council District 1. I do want to echo what other people said about creating a Muslim commission. I think that's be very important to make sure that there's an open dialogue. I also want to make sure that we're honoring the holidays that people celebrate, like Eid. So I'm fully in support of that. I know I might have had some answers that people didn't like, but I will always have an open conversation with people, regardless of any differences.
Assalamu alaikum. I am Delegate Courtney Watson, and I represent this mosque in this area now on the state level. I have been your representative for 8 years. With regard to religious discrimination, one of the things we have systems in place, we have frameworks in place to protect certain classes from discrimination, but one of the things that we need to do better is to evolve the law, for example, with doxing. So if a student or a Muslim adult is doxed, that can be a form of discrimination, which is not currently addressed well in our laws. And so that's an example of having to keep our laws fluid and update them every time we have some new development in terms of how people can discriminate. And I will be leaving this forum early. If you're in 9B, could you just raise your hand? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Abdul. I'm the other candidate who is running for this District 9B. One thing I would say in terms of the policy, we need to have our community part of the legislation when we are writing them. And I want to ensure, because I have worked as a social worker, I want to bring everyone to the table when we are writing the legislation, not only when they're just testifying for it, because that is where we're going to find a lot of our solutions in there. And one of the policies that I would specifically talk about is supporting policies that ensure curriculum development processes are open, inclusive, and subject to meaningful public input, because that is how we can have the open, free speech for the community so they can talk about what the issues that matters. And especially when when community are, when Palestinian community are silenced, we need to make sure that they're able to openly talk about things that matters.
My name is Liz Walsh. I'm the current council member for District 1, and I am one of the candidates running to be your next county executive. I would agree with what James Hanley said at the beginning, which is we have the laws already on the books, but we need an executive who will enforce them across the board and in a fair manner. And I think the worst example of what we saw that not happening was in the school walkouts in the year or so after October 7th. Some schools, depending on a principal, could do that. Other students were so stymied in what they could say or do or wear or colors or anything that it was a complete destruction of our constitutional rights to peacefully protest. We as grown-ups, we as local leaders have to have those conversations, have to include everyone in them, and we have to apply those rights equally. It is not selective. It applies to all.
I concur with Councilwoman Walsh. We have these laws on the books already, and we're a nation of laws, but if you don't enforce your laws, what good are they? We need to get back to the basics of, we're the greatest country the world's ever known. And I heard the Ambassador Chaudhry from Pakistan, he said the smartest political thing I ever heard. He said, America is a nation of laws, and you keep your laws. We've gotten away from keeping our laws. Thank you.
I'm Deb Young, and I'm also running for county executive. I just want to let everybody know that we have just formed an interfaith commission. So that will involve all of the religions, major religions here in Howard County. I'm not quite sure how the first group of people were selected, other than they applied and Calvin Ball then chose those individuals. But I believe that the idea was to have as many representatives from as many major religions here in Howard County as possible. I think that that's a great way to hear people's voices and also to come together and have these kinds of conversations over the issues that we were just asked to answer yes and no. Because most of these issues are not yes and no. They're maybe, they're discussions. They're, I think, but I'm not sure. They're terms that people use in different ways. But in terms of discrimination, I don't know that we are enforcing the discrimination claims that we're getting on the local level as much as we should be or as forcefully as we should be. There are two places where the county has discrimination, where they address discrimination. One is in our human rights statute, and people here in the county who live in the county can utilize our human rights statute to file discrimination claims. The other is in our employee handbooks. So we have 3,500 employees in Howard County. And that's an opportunity from my perspective where we can really strengthen what's going on in our county and make sure that people who are feeling that they've been discriminated against on a religious basis, that they will have that opportunity to bring a claim against the county. We also do employee training every year, and that's an opportunity to ensure that our employees understand what religious discrimination means to each one of our religions here in Howard County.
Thank you all for your answers. Now, you may recall one of the first questions that I asked was about your opposition to anti-boycott legislation in Maryland, but of course this is an issue all over the country. So for our next speaker, I would be honored to welcome Dr. Yassin Dawood, one of our greatest leaders here at Darul Taqwa and an ophthalmologist, who will speak about his experience dealing with anti-boycott legislation in his career.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for being here. Thank you for everyone. I know we put some of you in tough positions, but I think we're really looking for a collaboration and partners rather than just for voting for people. So this is a continued effort for all of us. And it's very helpful for us and our community to really understand where everybody is and how you can further the interests of our community. So I wanted to share with you just a very quick story that happened to me. Number one, I'm actually an international speaker. I'm an international expert at what I do. I am one of the best experts in this country about what I do. I am a surgeon. I do a lot of surgeries. I travel the world to teach people. I've given hundreds of talks around the world. Interestingly, something that recently happened is the fact that I was invited to a university in a different state. And I said, of course, I'm happy to come and share my experiences with your residents, with your faculty, with your fellows. And in my, they pay you an honorarium and they have to reimburse you for your expenses. And part of it was, do you certify that you will not boycott the State of Israel and its activities while you are in contract with us? I'm like, my contract with you is going to be 2 hours. My wife is from Gaza. We've lost about 250 of her family members. And I'm like, I am going on a medical thing. I am there to help you so that you can take care of your own patients in your own state. I'm there to elevate the level of care that you actually give to your own people. What does that have to do with politics? What does that have to do with anything that Israel does, aside from my own personal opinions about the horrible things that the State of Israel? I am a Palestinian refugee. I grew up in a refugee camp for 17 years. I went to Harvard Medical School. I'm faculty at one of the premier universities here in this, in the state. But as a victim of that war, and as my wife and her family have suffered so much, do you really think that I should say, yeah, I certify that I will not boycott the State of Israel? So I didn't. And then they follow up and they say, your response to the boycott certification question was indicated as no. Under our code, the university is prohibited from entering into contracts or issuing payments of $1,000 or more to any vendor that does not certify that they are not currently engaged in and will not engage in a boycott of Israel for the duration of their business relationship with this university. My state taxes last year were in the 6 figures. My federal taxes probably pay some people's mortgage. I don't need the $1,000 honorarium. I don't need your $3,000 reimbursement. But you are calling a physician who is there to help people, not only as patients, but actually as doctors, to elevate the level of care that they give. Who is harmed in this? Not me. It's actually the patients, the university, and the physicians, and really the science and the medical care that we deliver in this country. So these legislations that we talk about, somebody just signed it because of a political lobby, has ramifications on the care and the health and the well-being of our fellow citizens. I still haven't signed it. I said, I don't curse very often and my kid is here. To heck with your reimbursement. I'm not gonna sign it. Now the practical in me says, well, Yassine, you're done. You could sign it because you didn't certify. But from an ethical perspective, we are putting people who are of high quality, who can be amazing assets to our state and to our local folks, to say, we don't need your services. Why don't we need your services? Because you disagree with the genocidal regime. So I was really happy to see that everybody said, as an American citizen, I have the right, I have the absolute right to buy from whomever I want and to boycott whomever I want. That is my freedom of choice. This is what is ingrained in my institution. It's not about the claps that we are looking for. What we are looking for is a personal thing from somebody who is changing this country to be better and helping the population of this county to be better. and a good citizen who's paying everything that they are supposed to pay, but then they are discriminated against because they are victims of a brutal regime that they really don't want to deal with. And this law in Maryland, when you ask Westmore, what do you think? He say, yes, we have the law, but we actually don't enforce it. That's baloney. You either have the law or you don't. You cannot be selective. So my invitation to you, as we sit down and we talk a little bit more, that you are rising up, that you represent the people like me, so that you can help the constituents like everyone here. And I really, really appreciate, and I hope that we continue having this discussion. And I can't wait for the day that I can be a proud Maryland citizen saying, hey, the BDS law in Maryland is banished, and I hope that all of you are going to be part of that. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Dr. Dawood, for sharing this, I don't know what to call it, horrible experience. And that's why we look at you guys to help us really get rid of these kind of policies. Okay, so here's how the program is gonna go. We are gonna break out into different rooms. I think we looked at the number of people that came for each district, and based on that, we're gonna divide you guys on different rooms so we can save some time, and at the same time give our community the chance to have a more focused discussions with you. Okay, the yes or no, those were like easy ones. No, I'm joking. The yes or no challenged you a little bit. Now you have the chance to actually talk more and justify your answers. So we're gonna have District 1 and 2 go up to the media centers. Don't worry where the media center is. We have ushers that are gonna take you up upstairs. So District 1 and District 2, Howard County Council. Candidates for Howard County Council are gonna go to media center upstairs. District 3, 4, and 5 are gonna stay here. And 9B state delegate are gonna go to the library. Now, I'm talking here to our community. You should have this piece of paper that have your district. So please follow your candidates. If you are a District 1 and 2, you go to the media center. District, 1 second guys, don't leave, because I want you to come back here after you're done with the breakout sessions to listen to our candidates that are running for the county executive office, okay? So at the end, we're gonna come back here after the sessions to listen to our candidates for the county council, for the county executives, I'm sorry. Okay, we're clear? Let's do that. Okay, again, District 3, 4, and 5 will stay over here, and we're going to start in about 10 minutes. Okay, we're going to start in 3 minutes. 2 minutes now. It's 3:58. Okay, we're going to start. Please have a seat. Would you please have a seat? Our candidates, District 3, 4, and 5. Ms. Rigby, we're probably gonna move closer, so because this is empty over here, so we can move closer over here. Bidia. Thank you. Let's see, where's Mr. Amir? Can you move closer? We're gonna move closer here, so everybody can see you. Yeah, please bring your stuff. The name tag.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm asking everyone to please be seated so we can start our session. We have District 3, 4, and 5 candidates for Howard County Council.
Okay, this is on now. Perfect. All right, assalamu alaikum, everyone. If we can just get everyone seated, please, and if you guys are here sitting for the session, if we can come closer. It's a smaller session, so hopefully it'll be a little bit more interactive. All right, so thank you all for coming. So we have our candidates here for District 3, 4, and 5. If I can just have the candidates for District 3 raise their hands, and if you guys are a constituent of District 3, please raise your hand. Awesome. And then District 4, if I can have the candidates and constituents raise their hands. Okay, awesome. And then we'll do that for District 5 as well. And the candidates, if you can please raise your hand as well. Okay, awesome. So I just want everyone to get an idea of who their representatives are and who our constituents are. That way we'll get really close. So thank you all for being here today. Layan and I will be asking the candidates a couple questions. We've kind of condensed a lot of the questions we got from a lot of you guys as you were registering and giving input on what you want to hear from the candidates. So we've kind of condensed them into 5 main categories or policy sections, I want to say. And we'll go through them, ask them, and then we'll hear, at the end, if we have a little bit of time, we'll open up the floor to maybe 1 or 2 questions. So I'll start on the first one. The first biggest priority I think we saw was campaign finance. So Howard County's public financing system was designed to reduce reliance on large corporations from organized interests. So I'm going to break this up because a lot of the questions are very long and dense. But the first part of the question is, so what is your policy on accepting contributions from corporations, LLCs, PACs, and affiliated donor networks? And I'll just go and hand the mic down. If we can keep it under a minute each, just keep it short so that we can get through a lot. And I know that some of these were asked in the rapid fire questions. This just gives you a chance to elaborate a little bit. So I'm gonna hand you the mic.
Sure. So are you also sharing the question, like the written responses with everyone? Okay, great, because I tended to take all the elements and then wrap them all together where they made sense. But so last campaign, I participated in the Citizens Election Fund, and then this time I'm doing the traditional financing. We have over 8 new first-time candidates running, and so I really wanted to make sure that it could be a robust and well-used program, so.
No.
Don't drop the mic yet.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a long answer, but I'll try to make it fast. So I am publicly funded, unlike my opponent, so do note that. I do believe that we should push for all candidates being publicly funded. I don't think that we should allow corporate-funded candidates, like my opponent, because they get infused with tons of cash, and then who do they represent? The people that fund them. People know that. The other thing is, I think this kind of piggybacks on this idea. It's like a parallel point. I really think we need to make county legislation much easier to follow. I think the way they currently publish it, it's very hard to follow. I personally think and suspect that it's by design, and it's to keep only insiders in government and keep the keep everyone else kind of unknowing and aloof of what's happening in county government. But I think what happens in county government is super important. We need to get more people involved, more eyes on what's happening, because there's currently a lot of corporate influence in our county council, and I think more people here need to be aware of that, and that's why it's super important you get involved in the June 23rd primary and vote there. We have to clean out the corporate Democrats.
Can you just clarify, is it just the first part of the question we're answering, or the entire question? The entire question. Okay.
I have a
no.
follow-up second.
Okay, well, I only answered A.
Okay, well, I'll let you.
That's okay, I can come in at the end.
Okay, we'll go at the end, yeah.
So I am also a public finance candidate. I believe that we do need to keep corporate dollars out of our elections. I think locally it would have a huge impact on how decisions are made for residents. I think today residents usually take a backseat when we are making decisions. I think corporations have louder voices, they have deeper pockets. It's really hard for us to compete. That's why I wanted to be a publicly financed campaign. I wanted to make sure that when we met, you knew you didn't have to compete with a corporation. I'm here just for you. I'm here to listen to your voice and deliver on your needs. I think we can improve the program by, totally agree with you, Amr, making sure that everyone who runs for office has to participate as a public finance candidate. Right now, we are, the ability for our competitors who are not running publicly financed campaigns to out-finance us is, I mean, it's just beyond. So even if everybody doesn't have to do a public finance campaign, it'd be great if we limit the amount that they can raise to similar limits that we have as CEF candidates. And I will now pass it to.
We are not a competitor. We are both owners, public funded. I think we are happy about that. I think that the District 4, we have 4 candidates. And if you do the research, you know who is running public fund, who is using the citizen election fund. 3 years ago, I was running school board. It's not easy I try to represent everybody, and I work really hard. This time I work again. It's the same thing. How can we reflect the resident needs directly, not a special interest group, not some middle agent in the between. We want to represent the voice of you. That's why I think that's important to improvement. I think it's making sure the procedure is easier, more transparent, and for all the positions, including school board, then it will be later fair ground for everyone. And also another thing is to look at the yard sign. Pay attention how they put that. Is it put on the residents or commercial property? Because that's an indicator who is the behind, the big money, big donor. So that's very interesting to observe that. So thank you.
Hi. It's funny, this community fund campaign finance thing. I'm not financed by a big corporation. I'm not taking part of that community finance either. It's for the past 5 years, that's been $3 million through that. And that's $3 million for yard signs and mailers that go in the trash. I don't think that's a good way to spend taxpayer dollars. Now, corporations, they want to say that corporations are bad, but corporations, they are the ones that employ us. They bring business, they do things. I'm not going to, downplay if someone goes to a corporation and gets money from them. I just chose not to, but, I don't know why so much money is needed for a campaign. I'm running on a shoestring budget, and I'm just going by the Fabergé principle. I tell 2 friends, and you tell 2 friends, and so on, and so on, and so on. But I don't think our taxpayer money needs to go to that. We can put it to schools, we can put it to public safety, we can put it to a lot of good things rather than running a campaign.
Thank you so much for those answers. I'm going to ask the second part of the question, and then I know a couple candidates had a couple extra points to say, so this is just tangled up. I'm going to grab it out. I know. know. Soon, inshallah. All right. So, second part of the question is just, if elected, what specific legislation or resolutions would you introduce or support to address donor network influence at the county level? And I know some of you guys have talked a little bit about it, but we'll just get a little bit more of an in-depth answer.
Sure. So I want to recognize Ms. Young, and then Ms. Walsh, I think, was in here earlier as well. But we worked together to pass reforms in 2023 to make the Citizens Election Fund easier for first-time candidates to use, to make it much more functional. And I think that there's probably still more work to do. I think, you know, that time we had sort of a sample size of 4 people, all of whom had run for office before. And so this time we're getting 8 people who have never run for office before, and we'll have a lot more additional insight into how that program can be improved, as well as 2 additional incumbents who are running and using it. So I think that will lead to a lot of improvement. But then also I want to talk just briefly about state level reforms. It is really, really important that Maryland adopt the Montana approach. When you look into this, this is basically how states can stop Citizens United. So all the states can work together, and in each state, they can work to block corporate donations and corporate power. Elections are really managed at the state level, and that's where we need a lot of this reform to happen. But I do want to put the Montana concept out here because it was introduced this past General Assembly. It essentially stops corporate donations, and I think that is one of the biggest, strongest reforms we could have in the whole state that would make a huge difference.
All right, so I have a juicy answer for you. So I do agree with my opponent, what she's saying about the Montana thing that was passed, overturning Citizens United, getting corporate money out of elections. I totally agree with that. A problem I have is that oftentimes, respectfully, my candidate puts forward this progressive language very strongly, publicly, but the thing is, if you look at her voting record, it speaks the opposite. That is one issue I have. But to get back to the actual question, I do think I sort of have a question for this. I don't know how the reporting is for privately funded candidates, whether they have to make public all their donations, but you do have to do it? Okay.
Yes, it's in Maryland Campaign Finance and Secret.
It is, okay, perfect. So I would definitely support that, but that's already there. I'm not an expert on this issue, so I'm not gonna opine more on it. Do you want me to add more to the previous question? Okay, so, yeah, very short, yeah. So another reason why I think it's very important to level the playing field and make everyone have to mandate everyone to be publicly funded is because if you're an upstart candidate and you don't have huge rollover funds from a previous campaign election cycle, we wear many hats as an upstart candidate, and it is very time consuming to do fundraising amongst all the other things we do. So if you level the playing field and make everyone do fundraising, including candidates who have a big, treasure chest or war chest, then it kind of, it's not like the new candidates are stretched thin on time, and the other ones have time to get an early start and put signs and do those things. So, yep. So it's like a time thing.
I don't have much to add to what I said before. I think I didn't say my name, though, so I want to make sure we know. Shamika Preston, District 4. Okay, but I did want to add one thing that I didn't mention before, which I think expanding the Citizens Election Fund, which is the fund that gives money to candidates running public finance campaigns, expanding it to Board of Education races is a big win for our county. If we could do that, I think it has to have mandatory participation. And the reason I think that is because school board has a big budget to play with, I'm guessing.
It is. 1.3 billion.
All right, good. Yeah, it wasn't a guess. I wasn't kidding. They have a very big budget to play with, and they are specifically tied to working for the county. And the county, if we expand Citizens Election Fund to the Board of Education, I think it would be a really big boon to our community.
Well, as a school board member, I definitely testify it's much needed. But I can tell my personal story as an immigrant, as 3 kids. And then 3 years ago, we have elementary school, middle school, and high school. And it's not easy to run a full-time job. So that's why this year we only have 3 candidates for 2 seats. This is alarming. We need more candidates so we have a quality, the candidate to helping around 1.3 billion budget, which is more than half of the county budget. So I think we're definitely supporting the public funded candidates. I think from the issue I facing, what I saw election fund, if it's a fund, should be guaranteed there. Because this year we happen, it's like, oh, we don't have any more money for matching. This is not good. If we said we need funding supporting that, we need to make sure we have enough funding to deliver our promise as a county. Otherwise, you put the citizen election fund candidates in disadvantage. This uncertainty, unknown. We also want to avoid the mechanism being using to sabotage and for the citizen election fund candidates. We make sure on the same fair competition in the candidates. That's make sure our residents can pick the best candidates for our county. Thank you.
The Citizens Election Fund. Well, it's like, how do you amplify small donors without creating new pathways for large interests to influence the process anyway? Even if a corporation cannot donate directly, their executives, employees, or affiliated individuals can donate in small amounts, and those small amounts get multiplied. This can unintentionally increase the influence of well-resourced organizations and shift taxpayer money toward candidates who already have access to donor networks. Now, maybe we could also limit the amount per candidate. It shouldn't, I mean, some candidates get large donations from small, but they could be coming from corporations that you don't see. Maybe some donor tracking, maybe some anti-bundling rights, because maybe this corporation has all their employees. Give just a small amount, that is multiplied and becomes a bigger amount. I think lower match rates for donors connected to certain industries and caps on total matchable donations for a single employer, and just really radical transparency is what we need in order to keep donations what they should be. Just, small donations for people to do simple things. We don't need, I don't think you need that much money. People have generated a lot of money, and I don't know, I don't believe in all the yard signs and signs that go up. You need to talk to people.
All right, thank you so much. Okay, so for the next question, we are gonna try to keep our answers a little shorter. We wanna get through a lot. We don't have a ton of time. So our next priority was on immigration enforcement. I know there's been a lot of, activity in the community, in the county, and in the state around a proposed ICE detention facility in Elkridge. And this has raised a lot of concerns about oversight and what county officials knew and were aware of during the time. The council has currently adopted the Liberty Act, and so for context, for those of you who don't know, it's kind of an act that is ensuring that residents of the county are able to access county services without the fear of deportation or immigration enforcement. So my question to you is, if elected, what specific legislation or resolutions would you introduce or support to A, strengthen oversight and early disclosure of federal enforcement operations, B, restrict ICE activity in county facilities absent a judicial warrant, C, fund legal representation and emergency support for affected families, and finally, push county protections further than the Liberty Act where legally permitted? So I know it's a lot, but if we can keep the answer short, and I'm going to start from the other side just to switch things up a little bit.
Well, one way to kind of keep out these ICE detention centers is by enacting zoning and land use restrictions and mandatory inspections and transparency rules, so that you make the laws in a way that they don't really want to come here. Make them go somewhere else, but not here. Put a lot of pressure on, just make it, local standards for detainee rights so that they'll have access to legal counsel, permit visitation, provide communication with phones, meet minimum standards for medical care and nutrition and recreation. The rules don't conflict with federal law, but set a floor for humane treatment. But most importantly, try to maybe circumvent that by doing zoning, creative zoning laws that would get.
Yeah, I think I try to keep it simple. Definitely, I supported the bill CB 16 and 17. I think also coming to try to do the hearing. I think so many people packed. So as a county, we are very passionate about this issue, supporting immigrants, and I think the federal is definitely abuse its power, and the local, if we can, in our limit, we try to prevent that happen. Thank you.
I think what happened with the ICE detention facility being this close to being permitted and opened in Elkridge is one of the places where our county fails us. So we do have zoning laws that should have prevented that from happening, and it didn't. And we can circle back to recurring instances in our county where our zoning rules are just ignored. And our zoning rules are one of the ways that we show our culture, our ethics, and we protect the health and the safety of our community. We saw with that detention center that when we didn't do it, the health and safety of our community was really potentially impacted. We all saw the impact just by knowing that we were this close. So the first thing we need to do is keep our promises to our community. We have zoning laws for a reason. Let's make sure we keep following our zoning rules. And things like that, hopefully, will keep from happening. The other thing I wanted to focus on, you gave, A through D, but I want to make sure that we think about the human impact of how we can help people. So much of how we can help people at the county level will impact them emotionally, physically, that sort of thing. But making sure that people have legal representation that can help them keep their homes, their jobs, their cars, keep their kids in school when, maybe ICE comes through the community is, I think, going to be really beneficial to keeping families intact and keeping them from having financial devastation if one of their family members is kidnapped by ICE. Thank you.
Yes, I agree with all that, and this was a very detailed question with multiple parts and asking for specific policy solutions and recommendations, not just value-based statements. So I have a long answer, and I'm going to run through it as fast as I can. So A, I would institute the following so residents are always aware of activity well in advance. Number one, mandate anyone seeking to lease a facility to federal enforcement to file a disclosure with the county which triggers public notice and a hearing. Two, flag permits involving detention that when they have in their permit something that says detention, processing, or secure holding, et cetera, that should raise a flag in the permitting process and require a county council notification. And maybe hearing. Maintain public reporting of ICE presence in county facilities and any associated requests made to county agencies. Protect whistleblowers who report undisclosed federal activity. We should require judicial warrants and orders everywhere. Federal agency requests are not valid. No ICE access to county buildings, schools, libraries, detention facilities, etc., unless a judicial warrant is presented. County employees do not cooperate without a judicial warrant. County employees must refer ICE interactions to their legal department. And restrict federal access to county databases, both real-time and sharing. If possible, strengthen current rules strengthen the current rule that contracts supporting ICE are void. Fund a deportation defense fund. Fund a hotline and a legal triage so that people who have been abducted by ICE can get help within hours. And legal representation. Emergency fund for families, rent, childcare, food, put in place to support protocols for students whose parents are detained. Make detention facilities prohibited in all zoning areas, disallow conversion of any space into detention center, ban use of county utilities, leases, or services for detention operations. Landlords must confirm property is not used for detention center. County cannot contract with companies operating immigration detention facilities. Prohibit collection of immigration status unless legally required, reduce or eliminate data or database sharing with the federal government as much as possible, especially with regard to ICE, of course, and push for a state-level ban on private ICE facilities and form a coordinated county coalition to help push for that as well at the state and federal level, like teaming up with other counties.
Thank you. So like Shamika, I'm going to say my name just in case. It's Christiana Rigby. And I say that because I worked with my council colleagues to pass the Liberty Act to make sure that everybody in Howard County would be able to access our resources, school services, anything. And especially in situations where they're victims of crime. That was a huge issue. People were afraid to call the police because of their immigration status. So we really wanted to make sure that those protections exist. It's very tough because we have laws and we all want them to be enforced. And we have a federal government that clearly feels differently by their actions. And so it's very challenging because I feel pressed to make a law that I think they would follow. And so in lieu of that, we have to think about what we can do outside of that process. So with CB 16, we banned pop-up prisons. That's the situation where there's an office building and they claimed they were doing office, but then as inspections went on, there clearly seemed to be a lot more going on. So CB 17 ensures that when anything touching the federal government, that early warning flag goes up, that employees know who to contact, and they know how to deal with this process so that nothing is sort of happening in a gray area, that it is very clear on what employees should do. And then secondly, it also works to designate those areas that are public and those that can only be accessed with a judicial warrant, because we need to make sure that our county employees are ready and able to manage a situation, whether that's at a summer camp, whether it's at a community center, whether it's at a 50-plus center, or a county park. The threat is there, and we need to make sure that our employees are ready. And lastly, we need to continue funding our mutual aid and immigrant aid organizations, those that do legal work, as well as wraparound services, and a lot of, frankly, system explanation. When my husband arrived here as an immigrant, there are a lot of systems he did not understand. Do not even ask him to explain health insurance, still to this day. You know, helping people navigate these very, very complex systems is also really essential to making sure that people can participate in our community. And so I think it really is important that we address at every single level where it's, do our employees know what to do? Are our zoning laws strong enough? Are we currently defending our local land use authority in court? Yes, we are right now. And so those are all measures that we can and should take to continue to protect our community.
Thank you all for answering that question. So I just want to let you guys know that we are almost out of time. So we're going to skip a few questions and just cover one last one that is of great concern to the community. But don't worry, community members, the candidates' detailed responses to every question will be sent so you can review them. But yeah, so the last topic that we'd like to discuss with you all is the topic of Palestine, free expression, and community safety. I saw that all of you answered yes to defining what is going on in Gaza right now as a genocide. It's been 2.5 years now of this active genocide. Many members of this community have lost family members to that genocide, and other Palestinian community members have lost family elsewhere in occupied Palestine. So this is a topic of major concern, especially since there are entities in Howard County that profit from and invest in the genocide and oppression of the Palestinian people. So there were some protests that took place outside the George Howard building in support of a ceasefire resolution, which several council members initially opposed. And on several occasions, those protesters were assaulted while attempting to exercise free speech. So we would like to know, first, what was your initial view of that ceasefire resolution and how has that changed, if it has, to today? And then also, if elected, what specific resolutions, legislation, or oversight actions would you pursue regarding the protection of our free speech, our right to protest for Palestine, and also use of council authority over procurement and investment policy on matters of concern to this community, like Palestine, but not limited just to Palestine? I'll start here.
Writing down because I don't want to forget to say this. Okay. So I think hearing about the assaults, especially in the question, is really upsetting because People are coming to express their grief about what's happening in Gaza, what continues to happen, what continues to expand and only get worse with the support of the federal government. And so that right has to be protected. And that free speech has to be protected in all places, not just at George Howard, but also working with the Maryland State Department of Education to ensure that our students also have their rights protected. We need to make sure that when someone is assaulted, that there is accountability. It is, in fact, that simple. There's an assault, when there is an assault, and especially if there's video documentation, that needs to be followed up with. And I will say, I have a long-standing concern specifically about legislative resolutions that's separate from honorary resolutions, that's separate from group letters, that's separate from group statements. All of those things are things that the county council could work on collaboratively, could work with each other, could work with the community to do honorary resolutions, to do a letter. But when we do legislative resolutions, especially those to other government bodies, and when there is zero enforcement mechanism behind them, then it really makes me question what's the resolution actually going to accomplish, and what was the process to create the resolution? Was it inclusive? Was it collaborative? Did it consider multiple voices? So I refuse to pass measures that feel like action but change nothing. And I continue to fight in budget decisions, in policy, in legislative advocacy for the safety and dignity of every member of our community. And so I really hope that with the next council that there would be an opportunity for people to come together and discuss these issues, which is unfortunately not what has happened in the past.
So I do want to put some pressure on this topic in general. My opponent did vote absent on CR 22-2024. It was the Gaza ceasefire resolution, and then there was no known statement on Gaza after that. So I found it and posted it to my Facebook. Oh, good. Okay, I just didn't hear about it. Okay. Okay, good. I'll look it up. So, multi-part question. Okay, so I do support those things. If in terms of assaults, I'm guessing you could follow up with law enforcement. I'm not familiar with all what happened in this. I heard a little bit about it, some inklings about it. I just don't know the case. But yeah, of course, if there's violent counter-protesters that are part of some extremist, Israeli group, I think that's a big threat in the county. We've dealt with that in DC when we protest in DC. There's TSAV 9 or something like that. They're former IDF people that come as counter-protesters, and the Secret Service cops go easy on them, and it's just like always a dicey situation. They've done some terrible things, and then they somehow get away with it. Law enforcement goes easy on them, so not in all cases, but yeah. So I think we need to take more, our police forces need to have some more pressure on them in terms of looking into these groups. What's another part of the question? Accountability where they're assaulted. I mean, of course, yeah, we should refer to our legal process in criminal court and press charges. Use of county. So when it comes to procurement and investment policy, I think you're talking about the ballot amendment initiative, possibly. Ethical divestment and ethical investment of county council funds. I definitely support that. I've helped propagate that initiative or get signatures for it a little bit, and I totally support that. I would actually propose legislation to put that as legislation so our volunteers don't have to spend countless hours getting 10 to 20,000 signatures just to get it on the ballot. So I would actually just propose it as a resolution. Now, will it get passed? I don't know, but yeah, it's another story.
I'll start by saying violence is never an acceptable means of communication. I believe that deeply, and I believe it holds especially true for the adults in our community. The assault of protesters outside of the George Howard building was not acceptable, and I hope that it never happens again. I think that the right to peaceful protest is fundamental to our democracy, and I think it is one of the biggest ways that we can exercise our democratic rights. With that said, I did go back and look for press coverage to find out exactly, what happened or how it was reported, and I didn't see any note of protesters assaulting, which probably speaks to what you were saying. It just didn't even show up in.
I do want to just real So we'd like the focus of this question not to be on the assault, but actually on how you will, if you are elected, make sure that protesters' rights are protected. Earlier we mentioned doxing, so please don't let the focus of your answer be on this assault that happened several years ago. We'd like to focus on the protection of protesters today.
Well, I think we talked. Yeah, it was. I think we talked about this a little bit earlier, to making sure that our legislation that's on the books is legislation that's followed. So if, I don't know anything about doxing, but it sounds like we probably have rules in place for making sure we protect people's privacies, keep people from being assaulted, make sure people have the right to protest, that sort of thing. So again, I would make sure it's clear what failed, where we failed, and plug those holes. And if that happens to be we need new legislation, let's create some new legislation. If it needs to be that we enforce our current legislation, let's enforce our current legislation.
I think definitely number one is the freedom of speech. That's very important. That's a part of democracy, have the voice heard. And if the violence incur, that's a consequence. We should enforce in the law, not double standard. And for other things, I think mainly Howard County is a very diverse community, and that's I mentioned in my platform is how can we cherish our diverse community, work together to have so many issues we can solve it together. For the international issue, we need to report. It's very objectively based on the true story. I think that's quite the media played a bigger role. They can turn the volume up, they can turn the volume down. And how can we make sure all the information it's real, authentic, and all the voice can be heard? I think that's also, it's a whole community's effort to make that happen. If it's not objective, then our community will feel, it's marginalized. I think that's won't be good for a healthy, diverse community like Howard County. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, my position is grounded in simple principle. If a business is legal, it should not face additional barriers created by government. Legal business should be treated equally. If a company is operating within the law, I do not believe the county should selectively restrict them based on subjective ethical judgments. People, not government, should decide which business they support. Residents have the right to boycott, protest, picket, or raise awareness about practices they disagree with. That is a core part of the free expression of America. Ethical views vary widely. What one person finds objectionable, others may see essential or beneficial. Government should not be in the business of deciding whose ethics count. Transparency is better. Rather than screening out companies, I support making investment decisions more transparent so residents can see where public funds are placed and raise concerns if they choose. In short, I respect the right of individuals to make ethical choices, but I do not believe the county should impose those choices through investment restrictions. Protection of pro-Palestine expression on county property. I support the right of all residents to peacefully protest. They should not be met with any kind of violence, and there should be accountability when residents are assaulted at demonstrations. There should be a clear reporting process, transparent investigations, and public communication about the outcome. People need to know that their safety is taken seriously. Rights matter, fairness matters, transparency matters. People have the right to protest peacefully. Legal business should not face government-imposed ethical barriers, and when harm occurs at public demonstrations, accountability matters and must follow. Protect rights, ensure fairness, and let the public, not the government, decide ethical questions through their own choices and voices.
All right, thank you all for your answers. Unfortunately, we are out of time, so we'll have to wrap it up there. I'm gonna pass the mic to.
You guys did great. Thank you very much. That's why I love to bring the youth. I think, watch for them. They're going to be the future leaders of Howard County. Those kids are going to be, not kids, I'm sorry, they're not kids. They're going to be the future leaders of Howard County. Mark my words. Okay, we have 5 minutes break. You're more than welcome to stay with us. Thank you for the candidates for Howard County Executive for your waiting patiently for your turn. 5 minutes, and you can come up. It's your turn next, and this is the last part of our program. Please, if you want to stay, stay. If you want to go, I think. But after that, if we have some time, we're going to have some time to mingle, just, you know, have an informal opportunity for our community to connect with you guys. Thank you very much. We'll be back. Okay, our break. We came to the end of our break. I want to call our candidates for the Howard County Executive to please come here, come back here. I think, why don't you move? Yes, please. Okay, please everyone have a seat. Please everyone have a seat. We want to be respectful for people's time. We want to end on time, inshallah. Please, thank you very much. This is the last part of our program. We're almost there. Almost there. Okay. Our next session is going to be candidates who are running for county executive. We left them for the end for everybody to sit and listen to them answering questions. And I'm going to call Muhammad again to ask a couple of questions.
Yes, assalamu alaikum. Thank you again for getting us started. So yeah, these questions are going to be a little more long-winded than the lightning round ones were, so you'll get more time to explain your stance and in more detail. We've got 5 questions for 3 candidates in about 30 minutes. So just please try to limit the responses to around 4 minutes or so. And for everyone here, their responses to the questions are going to be posted publicly. So if you want to refer back to them or see them in more detail, they have written down their responses, and we'll share them shortly after the event. But anyway, on to the first question about campaign financing. I think we'll start from right to left, and then as we go forward, I'll alternate who's starting out. But first question, we'll start with Liz Walsh. Howard County's public financing system was designed to reduce reliance on large contributions from organized interests. What is your policy on accepting contributions from corporations, LLCs, PACs, and affiliated donor networks? And if elected, what specific actions would you take through executive authority, appointments, or proposed legislation to address donor influence in county governments?
Thank you. My policy is I don't accept that money. I never have accepted that money, and I never will. Of course, I am a publicly financed candidate. Now in the second election cycle that the County Citizens Election Fund has been available, but even before there were matching funds from public financing, in my first race in 2018, I did not accept contributions from corporations, LLCs, PACs, or their affiliated donor networks. And I am the only executive candidate in this race who is not taking money from special interests. I am 100% uncompromised. I have seen firsthand the compromising force of special interest donors on every aspect of local land use policy and decision making. And in local government, land use is everything. It's schools, it's trees, it's flooding, it's electrification, it's affordability, it's jobs and taxes. As county executive, I will do 3 things to remedy this. First, I will enforce existing state and local law requiring disclosure of special interest donations before the county may consider certain land use submittals, as is, just like what we talked about in the larger group. We have those laws on the books. They are hardly ever enforced. Secondly, I will pass legislation like Anne Arundel County Executive and Maryland State Democratic Party Chair Stuart Pittman just supported, but failed nonetheless with a Democratic majority council. That kind of legislation prohibits developers from donating to the candidates for offices that approved their land use plans. And thirdly, and as county executive, I will continue to fund the Citizens Election Fund and vigorously encourage its use so that it becomes the norm. And it is an expectation that you would not run but for public finance.
Hello again. My name is Deb Young. I have to stand up because I am also tired, and standing up helps me think, so I apologize. But I am the first publicly financed candidate in Howard County. I was extremely proud in 2022 to announce that special date. And I will tell you this, it's hard to be a publicly financed candidate because you have to go out and raise money in $25, $50, maybe $100 if somebody's really feeling generous increments, and then that money gets matched. One of the things that, and I, of course, am now taking public financing again. I would never do anything but that. I am not taking money from any special interests, only from individuals, because as a publicly financed candidate, you can only take money from individuals. That is, I think I've come close to raising about $450,000 with the matching funds, but there is another candidate in this race. It's not Ms. Walsh, and it's not Mr. Cockey. And that candidate is probably coming close to hitting $1 million. And that's $6,000, $6,000, $6,000 over and over and over again. And that's exactly what the other panel was talking about, for those of you who were still in the room. That is unbelievably hard to go up against when you are a publicly financed candidate. So one of the things that I liked, I think it was Shamika Preston who suggested it, who said we should make sure that nobody can raise more money than X, and keep everybody at the same level, no matter whether you're using public financing or you're not using public financing. And to me, what does public financing say? I have over 1,000 donors who have given me money here in Howard County. That says there are 1,000 people who are invested in my campaign. I can tell you that if you're not taking public financing, you might have 400 corporations invested in your campaign. Is that somebody that you want to see running our county? You want somebody who's got over 1,000 people invested in an individual campaign. That's how we're going to get past all of the special favors that get done for people. The one thing I tell you that I would do to make, as a county executive, given what I know about these special favors, I would make sure that our Department of Planning and Zoning wasn't able to give out those special favors, because that's where most of those special favors come from, particularly to the developers here in Howard County.
Thank you, Councilman. I'm going to echo what Councilwoman Young just said. The first woman of color in 1968 her motto was, unbought and unbossed. You cannot let these positions get bought by interests that aren't your interest. We're all small business people. This county was not built on politicians with a lot of money, or maybe it was. We don't need another library. That's a good example of what donations to a political candidate can do. Build stuff we don't need while the schools are decaying. So I would say it's got to be a better system of public financing, and that when you see the kind of money that these candidates raise, we're all smarter than a fifth grader. Do the math. Thank you.
Before we get into the next question, we are a little bit behind schedule, so I would just ask that candidates limit their responses to around 2 minutes. And again, for everyone, the more detailed responses will be written and sent out to you after the event. Now, on to our next question. The proposed ICE detention facility in Elkridge raised concerns about what county officials knew and when. If elected, what specific directives would you issue regarding ICE activity in county facilities absent a judicial warrant, non-cooperation protocols for county departments, early public disclosure of federal enforcement operations in the county, and funding for legal representation and emergency support for affected families?
All right. First of all, we don't really know when the ICE detention center came to the knowledge of the county executive. We've received a number of different stories, so we're not totally sure. When it came to the knowledge of the county council members was about 4 days before the legislation was introduced. Frankly, that didn't matter, I think, for our county council, because we knew that it was something that should never be in Howard County. And that was the most important thing, regardless of when it came up. We immediately said that we would be co-sponsors. Actually, all 5 of us were co-sponsors on that bill. That's how strongly people felt about not putting a detention center for ICE in our county. Still feel that way. I would still never want to see a detention center for ICE in our county. Our county council has done an amazing amount in terms of immigration. We have passed the Liberty Act, which some people think of as the sanctuary law. We have, we did pass a law that would keep immigrants from being detained in our local detention center, but it was vetoed by the county executive. We passed these 2 immigration laws, one to make sure that there was no detention center in Howard County, and then a second one that actually speaks to almost every single thing in this question. So I'm not going to go on talking about that question because we've done it. We have been probably the most proactive local legislative body in all of Howard County when it comes to protecting our immigrants. So it's right there.
I'm gonna have to keep this short because Councilwoman Young used most of my time. So I'm not in favor of any business making money off of locking people up. We need to think outside the box. We may need different forms of rehabilitation, but under no circumstance do I want people to make money locking people up. We can do better. As a country, as a county, we can do a lot better.
By local and state law, our local government already is largely prohibited from cooperating with ICE. We do have some of the strongest laws in the state and maybe even the country. Before we passed the last round, once the Liberty Act had been confirmed by referendum, I would periodically check in with our Department of Corrections, our police department, and the state's attorney to make sure they were adhering to the laws that already had been passed and to get a sense of what interactions were still out there with federal and civil immigration enforcement. In early February 2026, as council member, I introduced, drafted, and passed with 3 of my 5 colleagues, legislation effective immediately that addressed most of this question A through C. That was my bill, and it followed a second bill that I passed in my first term, which ended our county's contract with Homeland Department, or with ICE, to detain civil immigration detainees. For the entirety of my 8-year on the council, I have been in service to protecting the rights and dignity of our immigrant neighbors. As county executive, I would initiate an ICE hotline alongside a community-driven rapid response network, and I would augment in-house outreach and legal resources, proactively engaging with the many languages, countries of origins, and religions among us that make us whole.
Now on to our third question. Howard County's investment policy prioritizes safety, liquidity, and yield. Do you support adding ethical screening criteria to exclude investments in companies tied to human rights concerns, weapons manufacturing, fossil fuels, or predatory finance? If so, what categories would you include, and what implementation process would you direct? If not, please explain.
Man, I gotta get the hard question right away. So I don't think you could exclude any companies dealing with fossil fuels, because we're gonna need that for a while. Any company that's making money off the backs of the average person won't have my support, period. That's a pretty broad question. I think you just got to get back to common sense. And I think we have enough laws in place already. And you can have people tell you, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. All these things cost money. To a politician, it's not their money. We have to work smart. We have to go back to common sense. No matter what religion you are, we need to get back to common sense. And for the first time ever, we've got an inspector general in Howard County. I'm going to meet her, I think, on the 9th. And hopefully she's going to find 10 to 15% of waste in our budget. That money we will direct toward law enforcement for better, more safety, and we can fix these schools. So for the first time ever, I think we're on the right track. But this is the election that you, as voters, have to put us back on the track. It can't be the same old, same old. That hasn't worked. If you're happy with the direction this county's gone in the last eight years, crime going up, taxes going up, fees through the ceiling, and education going down, then you can't keep doing the same thing and expect better results. Thank you.
I'm next, right? As county executive, yes, I would support adding ethical screening as to each of those categories listed: human rights concerns, weapons, fossil fuels, and I would add gambling along with predatory financing. I have signed on to the Howard County for Human Dignity Charter referendum petition, and as county executive, I will work with the Director of Finance and the Pension Board to identify the most effective means to reach that end, and once we find it, we will make it law.
For those of you who don't know, the Pension Oversight Board is what is really in charge of reviewing our investments in Howard County. So while the county executive can make recommendations, It's really the Pension Oversight Board who determines whether or not the money that is in that fund is properly invested in getting the best return. So I would certainly consider reviewing the county investments. There's no reason not to, really. I mean, are we invested in terrible companies? But I am also fairly certain that it wouldn't be the final decision of the county executive to take that kind of action, because the Pension Oversight Board, of course, would want to maximize returns and make sure there was enough money to pay the people who were getting pensions from the county government, the public schools, fire, police. All of those people are getting paid from these investments, so it would have to be something that would work, which is why when the question was asked as a yes or a no, I did not hold up my paddle, because I don't think you can give a yes or a no. I think you can only say, I will consider it. I'm open-minded about it.
For our next question regarding food insecurity. Roughly 1 in 5 Howard County residents experience food insecurity. If elected, what specific budget priorities and policy changes would you pursue, including affordable housing requirements, food access programs, and changes to how the county allocates subsidies and tax incentives? What could you give residents experiencing hunger and housing insecurity how would you give residents experiencing hunger and housing insecurity a formal role in shaping policy?
As county executive, I will restore pandemic-era universal school meals, including universal pre-K. The emergency measures implemented in response to the pandemic provide a long-term roadmap for modernizing and improving school meal programs, ensuring every child has access to free and healthy school meals, not only during public health emergencies, but every day, will help end child hunger and build a healthier nation for generations to come. Those aren't my words, that's expert conclusion of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. And here in Howard County, with our dedicated farmland, existing and expanding Department of Agriculture, and perhaps again in partnership with the Horizon Foundation, we can incorporate so much more that's homegrown, healthy, and culturally diverse into what our kids eat, both breakfast and lunch. As county executive, I will expand the Roving Radish program, which distributes low-cost, mostly locally ground food at central distribution sites and weekly locations throughout the county. I will expand public access to individual and collective farm plots like the NAACP garden at Freetown Farm. I will skip much of what I said because I blather on, so I encourage you please to follow up with our written questionnaires, because we have a lot to say. At least I do, especially in here. But both before, during pandemics, and since, I have advocated for stronger tenants' rights in Annapolis. I have testified year after year in support of just cause eviction protections. During the pandemic, I was a vociferous proponent of housing assistance paid directly to residents or their landlords, and I passed unanimously pandemic-era rental stabilization across the county. As county executive, I will revisit whether that rent stabilization makes sense here again.
I think in terms of food insecurity, one of the things that we seem to be doing really well in this county through organizations like Dar El-Taqwa and so many others is feeding people who are food insecure. I would continue to maintain those partnerships and expand them as much as possible. I'm not sure what kind of funding is being received right now by those organizations, but I would ensure that the funding that they needed in order to carry on their work continued. In terms of housing, one of the things that I have focused on quite a bit is housing for seniors. I would make sure that the next set of low and moderate income apartments that gets built here in Howard County and gets money from the county is focused on seniors, and that that we would be recruiting seniors and seniors only for the low and moderate income apartments in what would be the next apartment building developed here in Howard County. I've also done the same for our seniors who are aging in place by getting and expanding a tax credit here in Howard County for seniors who are over the age of 65 and have lived in their home for 30 years. And finally, and I think most important, is there will be a piece of legislation to pass for a charter amendment before you in November, and that charter amendment will allow Howard County to use bond authority so that we can build low and moderate income homes for purchase, which is something that people have been looking for here in Howard County. Parents want their kids to come back, or they want them to move out of their house, one or the other. And seniors would like to downsize really instead of buying a villa that's bigger than the house that they're downsizing from. This is a real opportunity in Howard County.
I don't need to read off any AI notes. I've actually lived this. I've done it as a small businessman. I've worked with the Elkridge Food Pantry for the last 15 years. I've been a member and a board member of First Step, and I've donated food to the Ruth Kirk Center downtown. And having said that, let's get back to the housing part. We don't need more renters, we need more homeowners. We need to create generational wealth for these young people. They don't want a $6,000 McMansion. They don't need 3.5 acres. They need a starter home, something they can pass on to the future. Having said that, if you go to my website, Bob Cockey for HC, you'll actually see some blueprints. One is for like a 1-bedroom, 950 square foot. The other one is for a 2-bedroom, 1,250 square foot. So you can't afford to buy any property in Howard County because it's so expensive. We have plenty of closed up buildings. We're going to recreate and repurpose these buildings. Let's just call them modern day youth condos. So it can be done, and it's been done in Connecticut. I've had meetings with these people. And one more thing I'm going to say, my son's a Howard County firefighter. He can't, right here at Station 7, he can't afford a house here. He cannot afford a house in Howard County. Next time you're in a restaurant or a grocery store, ask the clerk, where do you live? Anne Arundel County. Howard County's never mentioned. So we create these high-paying jobs, firefighters, teachers, police officers. They can't afford to live here. So when we generate this big paycheck, where's that money get spent? Not in Howard County. We need to keep the money circulating in our Howard County. We generated this income. We need to keep it here. You need to circulate the money in Howard County, not produce the income to have it go to Carroll, Anne Arundel, or even out of state. Thank you.
Now moving on to our final question regarding Palestine, free expression, and community safety. Community members have raised concerns about the assault of protesters outside the George Howard building and the county's debate over a ceasefire resolution. What were your views on these events at the time, and are they the same today? If elected, what specific steps would you take to ensure safety and accountability when residents are assaulted at public demonstrations, protect pro-Palestinian expression on county property, and use executive authority, including procurement and investment policy, on matters of concern to this community?
Okay, that was about 10 questions. I'm not quite sure where to start. First Amendment is always the easiest because we know the First Amendment is first for a reason, because it is so important to everybody in this country. People should have the right to protest wherever it's safe to do so. Certainly is safe to do so out in front of the George Howard building. And during the course of the resolution that was mentioned, the protesters also came inside the building, and they were in the foyer area of the George Howard building, in the parking lots, and on the night that the resolution was being voted on. I know that there were a lot of police out there, so I'm going to answer that question. I wasn't aware of any assaults, but if there were, I certainly would want to make sure that our police were protecting everybody who was out there. And if they were not, I would make an inquiry as to why they were not doing it or why they were not effective, because I think that that's important, and people should know that when they come to protest, that they can do so safely. I know that people are still feeling very hopeless and concerned, not only about the war in Gaza, but now another one in Iran. It seems like no matter what, we just can't, this world can't seem to get themselves out of that area of the world.
If I could just come in, so one part of the question was in terms of the protection of free expression, but I think the other half was more focused on your stance at the time and your stance now on those specific issues.
Yes, and that's exactly what I was going to say, that I haven't changed my stance. I wouldn't support a resolution that says the United States should get out of Iran. I believe the United States should get out of Iran. I believe that Israel should not have bombed Gaza to smithereens, but I don't think that our county council chambers is the right place to have that debate 3 minutes at a time, perhaps for 4 nights, given the division that I think that it could and would create in our county. We saw it earlier when the debate came up in 2017 on the sanctuary bill, where night after night after night, people came in angry at each other, taking sides, calling each other names. And what I would want as the county executive is for everyone to feel safe and secure and protected in this county.
As for the protesters, I wasn't even aware of it, so I'm not even going to address that. But as far as free speech, of course, that's our First Amendment rights. All this killing and all is just, it's crimes against humanity. I don't care whose side you're on. It has to stop, and I would do anything in my power. And when I'm county executive, I will open our county to help bring in refugees, to give them a shelter. I'm going to leave it right there.
Yeah, I guess, could you get into specifically what you would do to, protect free speech, not just, I guess, the general idea, but do you have any specific initiatives in mind or changes that you would make to policy to enshrine that better? And also, I'm sure you were aware of maybe not that specific instance, but the general calls for a ceasefire in Howard County. So could you get more into, or elaborate more on your stances back then and now as well?
Well, it goes back to free speech is always the right. We have laws already in place for that. We have to enforce our laws. I mean, is that clear enough? I mean, laws are in place already. We have to enforce the laws that are already existing. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, that's where
Okay. A specific plan? No, I would open up our doors here to help any refugees, whether they're from Palestine or anywhere. But as far as settling an international issue that's been going on for thousands of years, I'm going to be focused on what's going on in Howard County.
Finally, Liz Walsh.
My view on the ongoing genocide is unwavering. I do have to put my glasses on. Dang it. My view on the ongoing genocide in Gaza is unwavering. Early on, I spoke out in opposition to ongoing genocide in Gaza. At first, it was social media posts hoping to appeal to parents of children themselves or showcasing the statesmanship of Senator Chris Van Hollen. I reached out to different faith leaders for guidance and help. I heeded Executive Ball's advice to go on a consolation tour with leading synagogues in the community, to no avail. On the very same night I introduced a ceasefire resolution, my colleagues elected to vote it down. There was no debate here. as other localities across the country grappled with the same public discourse and issued ceasefire resolutions of their own. As county executive, I will ensure that local law enforcement who answers directly to the county executive protects all of our community's constitutional rights, including to peacefully protest. Same goes for our public schools administration. I pledge to always listen, to lead with love, and to stand up for and to protect every one of us. I always have, I always will. I know this, I think, is the last question. This seat is empty because this is where Vanessa Atterbury should be. This is the establishment candidate. Delegate Watson went to an establishment event, a fundraiser, and came back. You could do both. The three of us, I elected to stay here the whole day. The Democratic Party, is this right now, this establishment. This is how we have an ongoing genocide Gaza. This is how we're at war in Iran. These aren't hard questions to answer if you think about people the right way. This is the establishment candidate who's going to take all those $6,000 checks from anyone who will give them to her. These three candidates are publicly financed, and I need your help. The real contest, in my view, are these two candidates. The one who's not here and takes all the money, and me. And so if you'd like to have something different in your county executive leadership, I could sure use your help in very small dollar donations and passing the words out to your neighbors. We have shirts and signs and magnets, whatever you want. You can call me and ask me anything you'd like to. I'm gonna sit down because Mohammed's gonna come tap on me. But this is a big deal. This is the first competitive primary that this county has seen in forever and ever, and that's because of public financing. You have a choice, and I really hope that you take the time to make the right one.
Well said, Liz.
Thank you to all three of you for your answers. I'm going to pass the mic on to Roba to end us off.
Mom. Ruba. Okay, thank you very, very much. Thank you for your patience to stay with us till the end. We really appreciate you coming here, joining us. As you said, the candidate that didn't come, but we appreciate you guys being here. I was told, because we want to really wrap up here, that District 9B state delegate did not have enough or good turnout because several people had to choose between attending that session and going to the candidate for county council. So we're going to give them a chance to come. Thank you, Delegate Watson, for coming back. She also wasn't here. So if you can come for an address the community, like 2 minutes right now, we'd really appreciate it. And then Mr. Abdul Mateen also 2 minutes, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone, and I appreciate your advocacy, and I appreciate you pulling together this forum so that we can learn from you and you can learn a little bit about us. I have been your state delegate for this mosque for 8 years. What I've done recently, which I think is critically important, is stand up for Maryland in the face of Trump's federal overreach. And we have, in the last 6 months, passed a lot of laws in Maryland to make sure that we're protecting immigrants, that we are keeping ICE out of the state of Maryland from cooperating with local law enforcement. We don't want local law enforcement using our local tax dollars to enforce federal immigration. In addition, there have been attempts by ICE to locate detention centers in Howard County. I was part of the effort to stop that, and also in Maryland, and I was part of that effort. We have passed a ban on masking by ICE agents, which is critically important. We don't want police officers, law enforcement officers at the federal level wearing masks. So we have done all of that. In addition, we have backfilled funding for things that have been cut by Trump, like health insurance. We have saved 140,000 people in Maryland from losing health insurance because of Trump. So right now, we are on the front lines. The Maryland State Legislature is on the front lines of fighting against Trump. This is critically important, not just to your community, but to all of our neighbors across Maryland. I serve on the Appropriations Committee. It's a very senior role in the state legislature that involves controlling how funding is used I handle, or am one of the 4 subcommittee chairs in appropriation. That means I'm in the leadership committee that makes decisions on funding. I bring lots of funding home to Howard County to help various nonprofits, to help our schools, to improve the way we're making decisions, and that is a very important role that you do not want to lose in Annapolis. And so I am asking for your support. And I will tell you that I have been working with this mosque since before it was constructed. I am the Board of Education member that made the decision to allow students many years ago to have excused absences for Friday prayers. Many years ago, when it was not common, we did that in Howard County, and I was part of that decision on the school board. I support you. I look forward to working with you in the future, just as I have in the past. And I thank you for letting me go meet with the governor in Howard County today, because it would have been very awkward if I said no. So I really appreciate you allowing me to step out for an hour and come back. So I appreciate you, and I ask you for your vote. Courtney Watson, District 9B delegate. Thank you.
Mr. Abdul Mateen.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank Dar Taqwa, Hikmah at CMC, and all of the groups that came in today and really listened to the council members as well as the ones who are running for as a candidate, and giving us the opportunity again to be able to talk about the things that matters. One of the biggest things is fully funding our schools. And what we haven't done is really fully fund the schools as well as their maintenance costs. Because I have talked to students who talk about some of the spaces that they had to close because the AC wasn't working. And these are the schools we are talking about. One of the best people moved here in Ellicott City and to Howard County because of the schools. And this is the condition of that school. Imagine the other schools in other counties as well. And we need to make sure when we are funding them, we're not funding in 10 years' time. We need to fund them now, because the issue of AC not working is an issue of now. It cannot come from the funding that's going to happen in next 5 years or so. And we need to make sure when we're talking about this, that Medicare for all is something that we are putting forward, because people have to decide between putting food at the table or going to hospital. That is one of the biggest things that everyone is going through when they pay their premiums. When they pay so much for health insurance, and insurance companies has the ability to deny those claims. They have the ability to deny the claims when people want to go to a mental health therapist. They just kind of find a way. They find a way to profit off of people every month while denying the claims. That is what the situation everybody's facing right now. And Medicare for all is something that addresses that, because we want to make sure it's not just about having a health insurance, it's about having the right. That is a right for everyone to have a health insurance. That should not be another cost, because almost every family is one bill away to be, in that situation where they are going to be in debt, where they're going to be paying for a long time. This is not just a story of one group or another. This is a story of me. This is the story of every community member that has lived here, that has been in the middle class and lower class. And we have listened to them, because I've been a social worker for almost 10 years. I've actually talked to the people who have talked about how their middle class is being pushed towards the lower class, and lower class towards homelessness. And this is a sad state of affairs that we're kind of dealing with. When we think about food pantries, we think about opening up in different districts, but now we need food pantries here in our county as well. And the lines are getting longer and longer every year. So people are struggling. That is what it's really about. So I don't come from a political background, and I don't come from a background of taking money from the corporates. I come from each one of you. I have talked to each one of you what actually matters. And what are the things we can do, from bringing communities with us when we're passing the resolutions, when we're passing the legislations, because it's not just about testifying. It's not about sitting at the mic at that time when we have presented the bill. It's about reaching out to each one of the community members before when we are writing the bills, that we want every community member, because as a public servant, that's what we really need to do. It has to be for the public service. It cannot be just about politics. Because at this time, especially, as my opponent has mentioned, what Trump is doing right now, our immigrant community fears that every single day, what ICE has been doing. And I'm not just saying from everyone else's story. I'm the one who had to stay at JFK airport for 6 hours while I was 12 years old, because my name has Abdun in it. And that is what I have faced. And many of you have faced that with your names, that they just did not kind of check. They just went with what your name is, and that's what it is. And they have put policies based on that as well. That they call it non-discriminatory. I'm tired too. But non-discrimination policies that they have put through. But every brown guy is stopped at the airport. That is what we're facing at. And I believe in politics that is fair, that is direct. It cannot be maybes. It has to be yes or no. And I support for Palestine. I support for advocacy for the people to right to protest. That is what it means for me to really stand up for this. And that is the point when I decided, and one of the policies, I'll end it with this, one of the policies that I want to introduce. If the governor will not sign it, I'll advocate for it every day. For people to be able to boycott, divest. Because that is the ethical investment we need to go towards. It's not just about how we're investing. It's about what we're investing in, because that's what matters. And we're going to fund those schools, not remove funding from disability, which was just done recently, few weeks ago. Almost $55 million were cut from disability. That is the county we are living in. That is the district we are living in. We need to make sure we're supporting our disabled community. We're supporting people who are going through mental health issues. We're supporting each one of the community members from our community as well as all the community in District 9B. So thank you everyone for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Abdul Mateen. I'm running for State Delegate District 9B. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, we came to the end of our program. Thank you all for spending, 3.5 hours of your Sunday with us. Thank you very much to all the candidates. I hope you have a better idea now. You understand our community more, but this is not the end. We're always opening our doors, whether it's us here or MFC, our Muslim Family Center as well. So if you have any questions, you're always welcome to come and join us. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for our community for showing up. If you're not registered to vote, you go register. I think this program was enough to convince you that it's really important to vote. Thank you very much. Have a great night. Assalamu alaikum.